Well, the world has still gone nutty, buddy, even downright cruddy, buddy. Wish I missed the past, buddy, but there's still Buddycast. No, don't be naughty, go meet everybody here on Buddycast.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the founder and host of Buddycast, Nick Sorensen.
Good news, everyone. We're back with another episode of everybody's favorite show, Buddycast. I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. Thank you for bearing with us. We took a little break there to figure some things out, but we're back and we're strong, as you know. And on this episode of Buddycast, we have TV's Tom Kowalski.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. That was a great introduction, I gotta say. I feel like I'm on a game show or a late night show right now.
Hey, I like that.
Yes, that's the point.
By the way, John Duckworth, if you're watching this, you owe me $20 for that introduction plus tip.
I think he owes a lot of people a lot of money.
Hey, speaking of which, I think that's him.
Oh my God, it's TV's Tom Kowalski. That's so true. It's me. Exactly.
Yep. So, buddy, for our buddies out there that don't know, you work in the news industry. You're a reporter. What sparked your interest in going into the news?
Gotcha. So starting off, I guess, back in high school and like early college, I actually initially wanted to go in for a film degree. I like working with cameras. I like being behind the scenes, which is ironic considering what I do now. But yeah, I originally went in for that. I went to the university at Buffalo, and then about halfway through, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get a little bit of a backup. So I chose the incredibly lucrative and very stable job of journalism as a backup, which is obviously so much more, stable. Like I said, financially stable and all that stuff than the film industry, of course. And so then I had a internship at my school newspaper for 2 semesters, and I found out not only do I actually like this journalism thing, more importantly, I'm actually pretty good at it. So that generally led me to where I am today, more or less. Yeah.
Nice. And how'd you find the opportunity with Erie News Now?
So I met my boss, Scott McDowell, at the Buffalo Broadcasters Association, of course, in Buffalo, New York. Mr. Wings every day, by the way. And yeah, I met him at a job fair there, and I went around to like every single booth table because I was like, you know what, I'm graduating college in like 2 months or something like that, and I need some sort of a job. So I forgot what exactly it was I said, but I had a very good introduction when I went up to the each booth. I think it was something along the lines of like, "Hi, my name's Tom Kowalski. I'm a senior at the University of Buffalo. I got a degree in journalism and a degree in media study production. I graduate in 2 months. I'm good with the camera. I'm good at editing, and I do improv. What do you got for me?" I think it was something along those lines. But yeah, and then so I said that with Scott McDowell, and he was like, "You know what? I like you. Come on down to Erie." And I made the about an hour and a half drive down to Erie, Pennsylvania from Buffalo, and I did an interview with him in I want to say late March, early April. And he said, I initially went down 100% thinking I was just going to be a camera guy or something. And then I got there, and he said, "Hey, do you want to be talent?" And I said, "Does it pay more?" And he said, "Yes." So here I am today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What's been your favorite part about working with Erie News Now?
Oh, there's been a lot of things. I like the people. I like the variety I like the variety that this job presents. That's kind of the thing with smaller stations like we are, where a lot of people wear a lot of different hats for better or worse. But you get a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things. Like I've had the opportunity. Obviously, one of my favorite stories I ever did was going on the Brig Niagara last summer. I spent a week there. That was fantastic. But I probably wouldn't have gotten that at a bigger station like in Buffalo or Cleveland or Pittsburgh or something like that. And so I just like being able to do everything. I also really like the independence that it gives you, because for my position, I'm called a multimedia journalist, which kind of means I do a little bit of everything. So essentially, they give me a camera. I go out and do my story. I interview my people, and then I come back and I edit it, and it's mostly on my own, which I do appreciate that they give you that kind of independence. You can really put your own creative voice on each one of your little stories each day. And you do obviously have to work with producers and other reporters, especially if it's a topic I don't entirely understand, which has happened before. But for the most part, it's pretty independent, and I like that.
Nice. So coming from Buffalo to Erie, what's been your favorite part about Erie? What do you love most about Erie?
This might just be because it's been so warm and stuff recently. We're kind of getting into it, but I really like the summers. Like, when I started here, it was like right at the smack dab beginning of summer. It was like June 13th, actually. It's coming up on my 1-year anniversary there. So I came there and I spent an entire summer, my first 2 weeks here, I was just living in my apartment. I was exploring Erie before I even started here. I moved into my apartment 2 weeks early just because I wanted to learn about Erie. And I went to Presque Isle and I went to downtown. I went out to, some of the smaller towns like Edinburgh and whatnot. And it was such a fantastic place. It really is a nice place for the summer, which makes up for the winters. I know that we came off a bit lately with this winter. I'm sure they're all like that, though, right?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. But no, I really do enjoy the summers, and I also like the variety of people who live here. Like, I love being able to go from this like inner city to the middle of farmland nowhere within like a 20-minute drive, which is something that I wasn't really able to have. I grew up on Long Island, New York, which is suburbia in a single $3 million person landmass. So you can't really go anywhere without a car. In here, it's like, I have the choice of everything.
Yeah. So in other words, Erie traffic is nothing to you right now.
That is one of the things I do have issues with Erie. I've lived in now 3 major metropolitan areas, including New York City. I don't know what it is about Erie. I don't know if it's just my style of driving, but I feel that Erie has such bad drivers. With all due respect, per capita, I feel like of the 3 major metropolitan areas I've lived in, Buffalo, New York City, and now Erie, worst drivers. I don't know what it is. I don't know because they're so used to like being in the winter and sliding around. But I every time there's this one merging point on 38th Street that I do on my commute every day, and every day I'm like, am I going to get sideswiped? It's a mystery. That's one of my issues. But if that's the only issue I have with Erie, pretty good so far.
Nice. So what keeps you going as a reporter? Like, I've been in the news industry myself. You have good days, you have bad days. You have days where, it's sunshine and rainbows. You feel like you're on top of the world. And you have days where you go home and you pop open the bottle,
Yeah, well, that's actually kind of what I like about this job. I like that it's something a little bit different every single day. I like that it's not just, your standard 9-to-5 typical desk job. Oh, excuse me, I just had dinner. But I like that it's not that like typical 9-to-5 behind the desk job. I like that they actually send you out. You're actually out in the field. You're talking with people. You're talking with complete strangers most of the time. You're doing your own camera work, which again, I love coming from someone who wanted to be or thought he was going to be a camera guy. And is quite happy where he is right now, to be fair, to be clear. And, somebody who had that.
Watching.
Exactly. But, well, I mean, John Duckworth is here clearly. So I've got a fan clearly in the chat.
You still owe me $20, John.
Exactly. I'll make sure he gets it to you. But I just love the variety of the job. I love the good days really balance out the bad, because even though admittedly like 75% of your days are boring stories, I hate to say it, but like a lot of them are just like, run of the mill stuff, everyday stuff, county council, what decision they doing, some parade or whatever. I like the parades, but and then, you get your occasional bad day where everything happens and breaking news happens at 4:30 on a Friday evening. And as it always does, I'm sure you said you've been in the news yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That's what always happens.
About to pop on. Boom. Someone decided
Exactly.
to make a wrong turn, get into a major car accident, and block off Peach Street. Or boom, someone decides, hey, today's a perfect day to go out and drown in the lake or something, you know?
Maybe Trump gets indicted at 5:05 on a Thursday afternoon. Who knows? Who knows?
Is you're about to go on air? We'll be right with you, Tom. We just have some breaking news right now.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you understand how it works. But those like crappy days and those like mid-tier days, they are nothing compared to the absolutely fantastic days. Those days when you completely 100% know that you nailed a story in every single aspect. You got great interviews. You got great B-roll. You did you know this is going to be a fantastic package on the way back to the studio to edit it together. You had a great live shot. You're just doing great overall. It's just those feelings, that 10% of fantastic days balances out the other 90% of just okay days. So
exactly.
It's one of the things that I like about this industry. Like I said, I love going into the office in most of the time not knowing what I'm going to be doing that specific day. I know I'm going to be doing tomorrow, but I'm not sure if I can talk about that.
Nice. How does election night treat you, by the way?
I'm sorry?
How does election night treat you, by the way?
Oh, Christ. Which one? The one?
The major one.
The major one? I'll be honest with you. I'm far from like the best political reporter around here. I always go to several of our other reporters, Jameson Hicksonbaugh, Ethan Kitty, Lisa Adams. They're all fantastic at knowing how to actually talk about politics, and I always double check with them. And plenty of other people in the station are much better than I at politics. So I remember on election day, I was down in Meadville all day with one of our camera guys, Kyle, and we were just running around. I was trying to find more information about this one gentleman who allegedly brought a gun into a polling place. So nothing happened, but he was told to leave because, he had a firearm in a polling place. You can imagine why people would not like that in this political climate.
So what are you going for?
As he has this big 357 Magnum on his waist or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, I was going around there. I was doing a couple Facebook Lives. It was also fun because the day before I had shaved for the first time in like 5 years or something like that, and I forgot how I looked with a baby face. And boy, let me tell you, your face changes a lot in 5 years of not shaving. So it was combined with that. Plus, like, I couldn't get any information about this guy who allegedly brought a firearm into a polling place. So I was just bopping around Meadville. I went back up to Erie at some point to cover a Mike Kelly event at Waldemere, but that was a bit chaotic. And then this last one, I'll be quick with this one. The primary elections that just happened a few weeks ago, that one was fun because I was the only reporter on Dayside that day. Literally the only one. So thankfully, nothing bad happened. I was just essentially doing a couple live hits outside of the courthouse where people were dropping off their ballots. But if something did happen, if something horrible happened, if like some political naysayer comes out and does something horrible, guess who's the only person who would have had to be the reporter on that one?
Hey, how fast can you make it to Gerard?
And that would have had to be me, and then I would have had to do a live hit in front of whatever horrible thing may have happened. Thankfully, again, knock on wood, nothing happened. That horrible happened that day, and I hope it never happens. But again, in this political climate, who knows?
Yes. So that brings up an interesting question. What's the most interesting story you've covered thus far? Or one that stands out to you the most?
One that stands... I already mentioned the Brig Niagara. I did that last year. I won't get too much into that. It was a fantastic experience, though. Once in a lifetime, I had a whole package about it. You saw footage. But one that really stood out to me recently, it was this kind of series I did about this one teenage girl. She was killed in a not a hit and run, but a hit and she was killed in a car accident while she was crossing the street to get to the bus. And I really but it was, I spoke with like the family, and I went to the memorial, and I spoke with the school district about what they are doing to kind of fix this problem and make sure this never happens again, because no student should ever have to worry about the safety of their own life when they're crossing the street to get to school. And I spoke with PennDOT about what they can do. I've spoke with local police about what they can do. I've spoken with everyone, and I'd like to think that, and a few months ago, actually, it was announced that there were some improvements for pedestrian safety and whatnot being actually made along Zook Road where the accident happened. And I'm not sure if I had anything to do with that, but I do like to think that I had at least a little bit of something to do with that, and that really hit close to home. I really like to see my reporting and my job actually making a difference for these people, for this community, because this is a smaller community. They were not a well-off family, and then they lost their 16-year-old daughter, who, from what I understand, was just the nicest, sweetest child. But she's no longer with us, and it made me good to see, or made me feel good to see that some effort is being made to never do this again.
Mm-hmm. How do you bounce back from that? Like you mentioned before, like you have those good days, but you also have those days where all of a sudden you have to cover something tragic like that. What's your methods of like bouncing back? Because like you said, you don't know what you're covering tomorrow.
Side note, real quick. You're a very good interviewer, by the way. I can tell you've been in news, by the way. It's very strange being on the other side of the questions. But to answer your question, it can be difficult sometimes. At least I have personally you just go home and you just kind of sit with your thoughts for a bit. Sometimes this got a lot more introspective than I thought it would be. I thought this was going to be a fun little thing, but
we got some fun questions. Don't worry.
Okay, we'll get to them. But right now's the depressing part. Exactly. But you just gotta kind of go home and you just gotta like decompress, and like you sit in your car at the end of the day and you're just like sit there and you turn off the engine and you just think, and you're alone with your thoughts for a second. And I've had days where it's something I call emotional whiplash. I remember one day I was, One day I was working on the weekend. I used to work on the weekends, and one day I was sent from Flower About a butterfly farm out in Edinburgh, I believe, and it was just a nice little like late summer, nice little family story. Great for just nice simple weekend story. And then so I wrapped that up, and then immediately afterwards, on my way back, I get a call from the weekend producer / anchor, Lisa Adams, a legend in her own right. And she's like, I forgot what the exact incident was, but it was like, no, I do remember what the exact incident was. It was a shooting right downtown near West 29th and Cherry. And it was like a bunch of, again, underage kids, similar to the Alyssa Hall thing. It's just like, that's a whole thing. And I'm like, okay, well, let me go drop off the intern and go to this shooting, because that's a pretty dangerous spot, even if it's hopefully done. And you get there, and there's an ambulance, and someone's being taken away in the ambulance as you get there, and there's cops everywhere. There's people crying. I remember it really hit me hard when one guy drove up and like at an intersection, he had his windows rolled down. He was just like, I remember he was like, "What's going on? What's the big deal? It's just a shooting. It happens all the time." And I'm like, Jesus Christ, it's that bad here. And so that, like I said, emotional whiplash, going from a story about butterflies to a story about a shooting, a child being shot. Yeah. So it's one of those things that you just kind of got to deal with in your own way.
Yep. Number one, thanks for being real on Buddycast. Like I said, we're going to get to some fun questions here, but
I hope so.
and showing people the true aspect of being a reporter isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's not. You're not every day you're going to report about this person won an award or this person just donated $1 billion to this area.
Right. Exactly.
You have to unfortunately deal with the tragic situation.
Exactly. Now, like I said before, you go into the office and you've got no idea what you're going to be doing that day, for better or for worse.
Isn't there a saying, it's news, anything can happen?
I mean, I've probably heard something along those lines, but yeah.
But now for the fun questions. You and me have a mutual. you and me have a mutual buddy here,
Mhm.
Mr. John Duckworth. Again, owes me $20. I'm not gonna let him. I'm not gonna let him miss that for the rest of the episode.
Uh-huh.
What's it been like working with him?
John Duckworth is simply a delight. He's the life of the party. My first 6 months or so, I sat next to him at our desks. Our desks just happened to be right next to each other in the back room there.
God bless you.
Yeah, I know. What a fantastic dude to spend your first big boy job. What a great guy to introduce you to. Great to talk with. He's also very helpful because he knows seemingly everyone. A lot of the times when I'm given a story and I'm I've got no idea who the heck to go to for this one. I know a guy. Hey, Duckworth, you know everyone. Who do I talk? Who's a good kinesiologist or whatever? I don't know. And just oh yeah, my buddy Colin. I went to high school with him. Yeah, we go way back. What a guy! No, he's fantastic. Both in and out, both at work and outside of work. Always the life of the party. Always trying to make you, trying to make you feel better. Mm-hmm. He really is. He's our producer on the First of Four show, which of course features a lot of local guests and whatnot. And so I cannot think of a more perfect person for that to produce that show because he just knows everyone.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask, keeping it buddy-like, of course. Do you have any funny stories with him? Do you have any
None that I can share.
Okay, we'll keep it at that.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
No, I mean nothing comes to mind at the moment. I'm very sorry. I wish I had something that was a bit anticlimactic, but no, I just can't think of. He's just a great guy to just joke around with. He's like I said, always the life of the party. He's always trying to make everyone feel included. Nice. What a fantastic dude.
Mm-hmm. Now, since you're a reporter, I gotta ask this question: if there's anyone out there, living or dead, that you dreamed of interviewing before, who would it be and what would you talk about?
I actually thought about this question because you sent me full disclosure. You sent me a little list of questions beforehand, and I did think about this question. I was do I want to interview Stan Lee, because I'm a big comic book guy, or do I want it to be some president or whatever? Yeah, it'd be cool to interview Abe Lincoln, but I'm someone else can do a better job. Who I would love to interview would be my grandfather. He passed away a few years ago. My mom's dad. He passed away in 2016. He was the first one of the first family deaths that I've ever actually deal with emotionally. Where I was at that time where I could be emotionally mature enough to understand the implications of my grandfather's death, and because I did talk with him. I obviously love my grandfather, but I never got the chance to really sit down and talk with him for an extended period of time. I think because at the time I didn't really know that I wanted to be a reporter, and I didn't know that I had such great questions to even ask him. So I would just love to sit down with him, talk with him about his old war stories, because he was in World War II. It's the anniversary of D-Day, so that just made me think of him also. He didn't fight on D-Day, to be clear, but he was, he's still in there. Mm-hmm. And he was a cop in New York City for a while, and just he and my grandmother raised 5 kids in a fairly small house in Levittown, New York in the 60s. And I would just love to sit down and talk about his whole process of going through life and what led him to where he is today and how grateful he is. And just, I would love to actually sit with him and kind of appreciate that time with him like I didn't really get a chance to when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. C.S. Lewis says it best. True friendship is when one friend says to another, "You too?" Because honestly, that would have been my answer, because my mom's father, my grandfather, or his papa, as I called him, is the reason behind Buddycast. He's the one that gave me the name Buddy. Anytime I went into a place, "Hey, my buddy's here." Anytime he called me on the phone, "Hey, buddy, how's it going?"
I was going to ask, where did you get the? I'm sorry to turn this around on you. It's just the reporter in me. So where did you get the name Buddycast? I mean, and how did this whole start?
So it's like I said, my grandfather was a lot behind this, and then I used to be a professional entertainer, Buddy the Clown. So I initially started this back in 2017 as a audio thing that lasted 3 episodes. Hey, let's talk about clowning, motivation, and something else, you know.
Mhm.
But then afterwards, it's really started during the pandemic. If you've seen the pandemic, you've seen the behind the scenes stuff about the pandemic. You post the COVID status, like let's say it was still going on today. You post the COVID status for today, and 10 people write back to you telling you to go do unholy things to yourself, you know?
Right. No, I know what you're talking about. The Facebook comments are always great.
Yeah. So I was kind of, I was the digital guy for your rival, Jet.
Mhm.
And I was seeing all this behind the scenes stuff, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, how can I be like you? Like, I asked you, how do you bounce back from this? How do you, you're reading all these nasty comments, you're just doing your job. So I thought about it. I'm actually pen pals with, have you ever heard of Dr. Patch Adams? The comic that was
Like
portrayed by Robin Williams.
I was going to say, like by Robin Williams?
Yeah. So that's an actual living guy.
Okay.
So
I had no context about like the behind the scenes of that. I thought I was about to break some very bad news about to you about Robin Williams.
Yeah, no. But I'm pen pals with the actual guy. If you write a letter to him, he'll write back handwritten, and he gets like thousands a day. So I wrote to him asking if he could do an interview, just to how can we spread more happiness, not just hey, someone tells a joke here, hee hee ha ha, thing, but the true happiness, like how can you find the joy in such a dark time? And he wrote back he'd be absolutely glad to do it, So I got that interview with him. It was a digital exclusive. And after that interview, I'm like, this would be a fun thing to do on the side. This would be a fun thing to make like a podcast, like just interviewing people about what makes them unique, like what is their careers, hobbies, talents, stories, and more. And that's kind of how it came to be. And then I talked to my now fiance about it because I wanted her approval before I did anything. And I brought the idea to her, and she said, not only do I love this idea, but can I be your first guest? And she's supported it ever since. And it's grown beyond my wildest imagination. It's really it's flown from everything. Like if you were to go back to 2019 and tell me I'm going to have a show that's going to have Sinbad, Stephen Tobolowsky, John Mahon from the Elton John Band, Dougie Doug from Cool Runnings, Larry Thomas and Steve Heitner from Seinfeld, just list those names up here. I would have probably looked at you like you had two heads or something, like me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's how it came to be, and that's what it really is. Two buddies just talking on the show, which, by the way, you're not a guest, you're a buddy.
Thank you. I'm honored.
So, but
that's awesome.
That's how it came to be.
Nice. Well, I'll be real quick though. I know you probably want to get back to your questions, but I did also. Originally, it's always been like a little bit of a dream of mine to actually go into podcasting. Actually, I didn't mention this before because I kind of forgot. But a big reason, or one of the big reasons that I went into journalism is because one of my favorite content creation places ever is this place called Kinda Funny. There's this small video game journalism company based in San Francisco, and they do hour-long video game newscast each day, streamed live on Twitch, and they do the Kinda Funny podcast. And I've been a fan of them since I was 16 years old. One of my favorite people, one of the people I look at, so one of the people who I really look to for what I can aspire to be as a good interviewer is Greg Miller. He's the leader of Kinda Funny. He's the CEO, and he's who I essentially aspire to be, which is a nerdy, tall, loud man who can not only make an emotional connection and be somewhat funny, but actually do very good, proper journalism when he needs to.
Awesome. You should do a podcast. I think you'd be awesome.
I've done a handful in the past, like just in college. But I hope to do some more eventually, but I'm just a bit I got a lot on my plate right now, I'll be honest with you, buddy.
Hey, don't we all?
Don't we all?
You did something like just once a week or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
Something in your downtime. It really helps you. Like, this is my thing. Everyone in my family has a thing outside of work, or, my fiance does dog training. My, dad plays bocce, and my sister golfs. My mom does yoga. This is my thing,
Right.
So, and that could be your thing to help decompress after a long day, after that long day of work rather than just sit with your thoughts. Express your thoughts.
It's true. God knows I know how to talk enough, so.
Oh, I want to ask you about an interview that you did recently. You actually did not an interview, a story. You covered Jerry Seinfeld when he came into town. How did that story? How did all that go?
Dude, I love that Jerry Seinfeld story. That was so cool. I tried so hard to interview Jerry Seinfeld that day, and I did get the next best thing. With all due respect to Mark Schiff, who was the man who interviewed, he's been working with Jerry for like 30 years or something like that as his opener. You had him on this podcast, I believe, right? Yeah. No, it was an amazing experience. I really loved that. I really loved that interview. It's still one of my favorite interviews. It was just an honor to meet him and everything. I really wanted to interview Jerry Seinfeld because, like I said, I'm from Long Island. Jerry Seinfeld's from Long Island. Jerry Seinfeld likes comedy and cars and getting coffee. I like all those things too. So I'm like, I would love to interview Jerry Seinfeld just about like where comedy stands in this kind of society with all of several issues. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but the closest I did get was I saw Jerry Seinfeld's limousine drive by to the Warner Theater. I don't know for a fact that it was him, but I can't imagine there was a lot of other blacked out limousines from Ohio going around the back of the Warner Theater on a Thursday of Jerry Seinfeld appearing at the Warner Theater, and I'm like, I wonder what he thinks right now. If he sees this camera and he's like, geez, am I in such a small town that I'm the talk of the news? No, but
that part was he was. You
know? No, that was a great story. I feel like I did very well with that story for as much as I could. Like I said, would love Jerry Seinfeld. Still want him one day. Still would at least love to meet him one day. But that's a larger aspiration. I still feel like I did very well with that story.
Hey, you and me both. I would love to have him on Buddycast one day. You know,
that's the goal, ain't it? You already got 2 alumni of the show.
If I get him on this podcast, I think I'll retire after that. Like, I've hit the ceiling. That's it. Game over. Yeah. So
real quick, can I actually ask real quick what you do outside? Like you said, this is your essentially side gig. So what do you do as your main job, if I can ask?
I actually I'm starting a new career on Monday at Erie Insurance.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Very nice.
So,
yeah,
that's the new thing.
Nice.
So, when it comes to, let me ask you this: when it comes to your career, what are your hopes and dreams?
I would essentially, like I mentioned before, kind of funny that that podcast company out in San Francisco. It's incredibly nerdy. I would love to go into video game journalism. I know it's incredibly nerdy, but I've been like a lifelong gamer. It's like I said, it's what got me into like this journalism thing in the first place. I would love to work with Kind of Funny in some capacity, but another thing I would always thought was just like such a cool job was if you know Top Gear or the Grand Tour that Jerry Clarkson and Richard Hammond and James May, I believe are the 3. It's essentially, if you don't know, real quick, it's a car show. They get in some crappy car and then they go travel the world, or they get in some really nice car and they go travel the world in some exotic place. And I've always thought that must be the coolest job. Even like the people behind the camera, getting to see getting paid to see these like absolutely gorgeous places as your career, that must be one of the coolest things. So, I mean, that's like big time aspirations. But again, I would love to just keep on entertaining people, informing people, doing a good job of keeping people happy and whatnot. That's kind of what I would like to do with my life.
Awesome. Love to hear that answer. Love to hear that you want to go in the positive aspect to it.
What if I said I was just in it for the money? Then I think I'd be in the very wrong industry.
We get that a lot. So, buddy, I have 2 more questions to make it an official Buddycast for you.
All right. Let's hear it.
The first one is brought to us by my buddy Jonas Kane at #positivity. He wants to know, in your own words, what does it mean to be someone's buddy?
Being there when someone needs you. I mean, I think we've all had that time when we need a friend to talk to or a friend to cry with. And I've got my buddy who I call up. I've got a few buddies who I would call up depending on the situation. But yeah, a great example recently is I broke up with a girlfriend a few months back, and I texted a friend and I was like, "Hey man, just broke up with my girlfriend. Didn't expect anything of it. I just kind of want to talk on the phone." And he was like, "You know what? I'm in Buffalo right now. I'm coming down the next day. We'll spend the day together. Do whatever you want." And he did. He came down, and I was able to take a day off from work, and we were just like hanging out, and it was great to just be able to not be alone with my thoughts after that. Bit of a bummer experience. No one likes to have a breakup, no matter the circumstances. And so you just need being a buddy is being that someone when someone needs you, or knowing when you need someone else.
Number one, I'm sorry to hear about the breakup, but you're absolutely right. A buddy's there for you on the drop of a dime,
Awesome. And don't worry, I'm dating a fantastic girl now. Don't worry, it's all good now.
Awesome.
Happy ending.
Yeah. I'm like, this is going to be off.
Sorry, ladies.
Yeah. Sorry, ladies, he's taken.
Exactly, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're both taken.
So. I know. Yeah. Unfortunately, sorry, ladies. two ineligible bachelors. But you had one more question for me?
Yes, I do. It's what we call the ultimate Buddycast buddy question. You ready for this one?
I don't know. Am I?
You are.
Oh, Christ. Okay.
What is your advice to anyone out there who wants to go into the news industry, who wants to be a reporter?
Okay. It's a hard industry it can be a hard industry to get into. I'll be honest with you. I got incredibly lucky. I lucked out when I met I just happened to meet my boss. I know so many people, so many friends who are, in the film industry, in the journalism industry, who either had to wait like months or like a year after they graduated to finally find a job in the industry, or they just completely gave up and they're working in PR or some other industry now. But so don't be afraid of people saying no to you, because spoiler alert, in this industry, people are going to say no to you a lot. Turns out when you go up to random people on the street and you ask them if you want to do an interview, a lot of people say no, which is a bummer. It makes my job harder.
That was only a 2-letter word. You're going to have to double down on that.
Exactly. But you also got to understand that, like I said before, there's going to be a lot more bad days, a lot more, not bad days, but less fun days than there are fun days. But that 5%, that 10% of fun days, it really does outgrow or outshadow the boring days, the bad days, the sucky days, the sad days. It's really going to show you. It's really going to show you what this industry is all about. And for me, it's about connecting with people. It's about telling personal stories. It's why I love interviewing just one or two people for a lot of my packages, because I would love to focus on one, maybe two people instead. Perfect example was the Mark Schiff interview, where I mostly focused on him, and I had one other guy from the Warner Theater who talked about the economics. But who cares about the economics when I have Mark Schiff, the guy who's worked with Seinfeld for 30 years. I love telling those personal stories, and it's so. I guess what I'm trying to say is just find your niche. Find what you are passionate about. Find what you can talk about every single day in journalism, because that is probably what you're going to end up doing. If you really like politics, go into be a political reporter. If you like cars, go into automotive journalism. If you like video games, go into video game journalism. But so find what you want to focus on and just go for it. I mean, like I said, the worst people could say is no, and you're going to hear no a lot. So
you hear no
you
a lot on Buddycast,
It's true.
For every celebrity we've had on, we've had two more that have said, no.
I'm sure. Every time you reach out to Jerry Seinfeld, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly.
I've had celebrities put me in my place very quickly going, look, he's here, you're here. Where do you think this is going to happen? If you don't,
Right. Well, but yeah, so just don't be afraid of the answer no, and just don't be afraid of keep having to kind of be annoying, because that's kind of what your job is to keep on annoying people until they give you what you want, whether it's information, whether it's an interview, whether it's whatever.
Exactly. Well, buddy, thank you so much for being a buddy here on Buddycast. It was a true pleasure.
It's been an honor. The 40 minutes flew by, I will say.
Mm-hmm. So, but I have one favor to ask you before we close out this episode.
Okay.
Whatever you do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, or even next year, please promise me you're going to go out and go be someone's buddy.
I can do that.
Awesome. For all my buddies out there, this is TV's Tom Kowalski.
Thanks for having me.
I'm your host, Nick Sorensen. John Duckworth, you still owe me $20. We'll catch you all next time here on everybody's favorite show, Buddycast.
Well, the days are going fast, buddy, we've got to make them last, buddy, before they've all gone past, buddy, tune in to Buddycast. Don't be nutty, go make it, buddy, here on Buddycast.